The end of the career and the end of the life is when you're dead. I mean, there's no end. There's no end. It's too exciting. Life is too profoundly amazing to think that it's over. It's not over until it's over.
It began with silence, the kind that follows shock. On October 11th, 2025, the world woke to the news that Diane Keaton, one of Hollywood's most beloved icons, was gone. At 79, the woman who defined grace, independence, and quiet rebellion had passed away in her red brick Brentwood home. Hollywood mourned. Fans flooded social media with tributes. But a few days later, the story took a turn no one saw coming. Inside her upstairs study, behind a locked wooden drawer, her family found a secret diary. Pages yellowed with time, inked with emotion. Among them lay a list. Names of men she swore she never wanted to see again. One name was different. Beside it, a single word, never. This is that story. Subscribe to Heartfelt Tales before we begin. The Godfather of her heart. It all began in 1971 on the set of The Godfather. A young Diane Keaton, 25, witty, nervous, yet endlessly charming, had just been cast as Kay Adams, the moral compass to Michael Corleone's darkness. And across from her stood an unknown stage actor from the Bronx, Al Pacino. The moment she saw him, something shifted. "I looked at Al," she would later say, "and thought, oh my God, he's unlike anyone I've ever met." Their chemistry was immediate, effortless, magnetic. What started as late-night conversations on set soon turned into a quiet, consuming romance. They were opposites. She, light and laughter. He, mystery and restraint. But love, when mixed with genius, can be dangerous. Pacino feared commitment like others feared death. Marriage, he said, felt like a cage. And Diane, despite her independence, longed for security, something real. For 15 years, their love flickered on and off like a candle in the wind. There were phone calls unanswered, letters returned unopened, and long nights where she waited for a man who was already halfway gone. In 1990, during The Godfather Part 3 premiere, Diane walked the red carpet alone. Al arrived minutes later with another woman. Cameras flashed, and in one photo, one single moment, you can see her eyes. Calm, distant, and completely broken. A few months later, she sent him a letter. "Marry me or let me go." He chose silence, and that silence became their goodbye. Years later, she told Oprah Winfrey, "I loved Al for so long that I forgot who I was. It wasn't just a confession. It was a wound, finally spoken aloud." The chaos she feared. If Al Pacino was the heartbreak, Jack Nicholson was the test. He was Hollywood's wild child. Charming, reckless, and dangerous in every sense. She was calm, structured, a lover of order. They were never meant to collide. And yet they did. Their first meeting came in 1978 at an Oscar after-party. Jack approached her with his signature grin and said, "You're beautiful, Diane. Care to dance?" She glanced at him, then at his girlfriend, actress Angelica Houston, and replied coldly, "I don't dance with men who already have company." The room fell silent. One line, sharp, bold, unforgettable. And Diane Keaton had done what few in Hollywood dared. Put Jack Nicholson in his place. Years later, fate brought them together again for Something's Gotta Give in 2003. The movie paired them as an unlikely older couple rediscovering love. But behind the scenes, sparks didn't fly. They collided. Nicholson's wild humor and unpredictability clashed with Diane's calm professionalism. One day on set, he cracked a joke that crossed the line. Diane stood up, walked off set, and disappeared for hours. When she finally returned, she didn't shout. She simply said, "Let's finish the scene." But something had changed. After the film's release, she was asked if she'd ever work with Jack again. She smiled and said softly, "Once was enough." For Diane, Jack wasn't just a co-star. He was everything she rejected about Hollywood. Arrogance dressed as charm, chaos mistaken for genius. He was the storm she refused to drown in. The storm of perfection. By 1980, Diane had survived heartbreak and fame. She was looking for meaning not in love, but in art. That's when Warren Beatty entered her life. Warren wasn't just a man, he was a movement. Brilliant, obsessive, seductive, Hollywood's golden boy with a mind sharper than his smile. When he began working on his epic film Reds, he knew who he wanted as his lead. "Diane Keaton has a mystery I want to solve," he told reporters. What followed was 2 years of collaboration and collision. They worked day and night, rewriting, arguing, creating. Their chemistry was electric but dangerous, passion constantly on the edge of explosion. Being around Warren, she once confessed, felt like living inside a storm. Reds became a masterpiece, and their relationship a masterpiece in ruins. Behind the applause, Diane realized she was just another chapter in Warren's long history of women, a list that stretched through Hollywood's biggest names. She left quietly, without bitterness. But in her diary, she wrote one line that said it all. He was brilliant, but his love came with conditions. The loyalty that broke her. Then came the most complicated man of all, Woody Allen. They met in the late 1960s, long before fame. He was the neurotic genius with a typewriter. She was the quirky theater actress who didn't quite fit the mold. Together, they made Magic, Sleeper, Love and Death, Manhattan, and of course, Annie Hall. That film changed everything. It made her a star, won her an Oscar, and defined her image forever. Intelligent, awkward, irresistibly human. Their connection was effortless, like two strange souls who spoke the same secret language. But in the 1990s, everything changed. The scandal surrounding Woody Allen, his breakup with Mia Farrow, the accusations, the media storm, tore Hollywood apart. Friends abandoned him. Studios distanced themselves. His legacy trembled. Everyone walked away, except Diane Keaton. She called him, visited him, and stood by him when the world turned its back. In 2014, when Woody received the Golden Globe Lifetime Achievement Award, it was Diane who walked on stage to honor him. Her voice trembled. Her eyes shimmered. "Woody is my best friend," she said, "and I believe in him." The backlash was instant. Social media erupted. Critics accused her of defending the indefensible. But she didn't apologize. In 2018, amid the #MeToo movement, she tweeted 8 words that reignited the controversy. "Woody Allen is my friend. I still believe in him." The industry condemned her silence, but those close to her said she was unmoved. She told one friend, "I stood by him not because he was right, but because I saw him lonelier than ever." That was Diane Keaton, loyal even when it hurt, compassionate even when it cost her everything. The hidden note. After her passing, her family discovered that old wooden drawer, and in it, the list. But what caught their attention wasn't just the names. It was the note folded between them. In her careful handwriting, Diane had written, "He never belonged to me, and he never belonged to anyone." Those words, quiet and devastating, were about Al Pacino, the man who shaped her youth, broke her heart, and haunted her through every role she played afterward. But below that note, in smaller handwriting, was one more line. A confession that told the world everything about who she really was. Diane Keaton lived a life that most dream of: fame, love, art, immortality. But she also carried wounds that never made the headlines. She loved deeply, forgave endlessly, and walked away silently when love turned cruel. Her diary wasn't a record of hate. It was a map of survival. Every man she met, Pacino, Beatty, Nicholson, Allen, represented a chapter of her becoming. The dreamer, the rebel, the perfectionist, and the believer. And through them all, she found something more precious than love herself. In one of her final interviews, when asked if she regretted never marrying, Diane smiled that unforgettable smile and said, "I've had the best conversations with myself." Maybe that was the truth all along. Diane Keaton didn't hate men. She simply outgrew them.